This is the disassembly video for my Civivi Voltaic here. Let's jump right in. We will take out the pivot first. This knife disassembles pretty easily. I did disassemble this one before while I was prepping for the review on this because I wanted to play around with the tension on the pivot or on the frame lock. I played around with the tension, untensioned it, over-tensioned it a little bit. Nothing really improved that flipper action to the point where it was more usable. So I let it back. I put it back where it was stock, kind of left it that way. All the hardware here, except for the pocket clip, is T8, which I like. There's a T6 bolt on this side of this standoff, a T8 on that side, so that's kind of strange. So don't get that standoff switch direction-wise when you disassemble the knife. I will say that I didn't mention in the review, this little lanyard thingy right there rattles on this knife. There's just not quite enough accuracy in the tolerances of when it was made, so it does rattle. So that's a consideration, a little bit of a quality issue there. Pivot pin wise, they have done this, or rather not pivot, but stop pin. They've recessed it inside here. I don't like that specifically because if you get dirt in there, you have to disassemble the whole knife to get it out. It's a very sturdy way to do a stop pin. There's nothing wrong with it durability wise, but that is an issue there. Nice large ceramic bearings with metal cages. Not a lot of recessing into the blade there, so they left a sturdy blade. Plenty of size on the lock bar shelf for a daily carry. Should be nice and durable there. This is a steel side, so they haven't had to put a steel washer in there. I love the way they've done the steel insert in there, so it's not visible at all from the outside, but it is very sturdy, goes all the way down to both standoffs for durability and support. Pretty simple on the inside. There ain't a whole lot to this knife. The frame lock is integrated into the handle, obviously. Pretty simple there. I'm going to clean this out a bit since it's a bit dirty and I'm already in here. There's your pivot ball in there. Let's get way down in there, get all the dirt out of there since that is a potential safety issue. The reason I'm not the hugest fan of this construction is that when dirt packs in there, especially on a frame lock, what happens is you flip the knife, it opens, and it doesn't lock open because it doesn't get quite completely 100%. And so you end up with a knife that feels like it opened just fine, but isn't actually locked. So that's why I'm not a fan of that. Granted, it doesn't happen very often, but it is possible for it to happen. So I just prefer that to be left open so I can clean the dirt out like you can on the Civivi Voltaic. Again, upcoming review. Look for that soon. So there is everything cleaned. Let's reassemble here. I'll get the outside of the face there. This is the presentation side. So this is where the pivot bolt goes. There's a little notch on there that fits into that so that it sits in there securely. These, incidentally, are little oil bottles that I picked up on Amazon. I already had a large quantity of Choji on hand, so I didn't want to buy a type that came with its own bottle because those are like 15 bucks. I was able to get like 10 of those bottles for about 8 bucks and then use my already possessed lifetime supply of Choji to oil my knives still. If you don't use a needle tip bottle like this for oiling your knives, you really should. It's definitely saves you from using too much oil and lets you get it exactly where you want it without spewing it everywhere. Let's get the bolts back in. Here's my T8. Again, I love it when people put T8s, when companies put T8s on all their hardware, because you only have to have one tool and you're less likely to strip them. It would be even better if they would do Allen bolts, because those are much more common and easy to replace and cheaper, and they don't strip as much. But we're stuck with T6s and T8s for now. There's the pocket clip bolt. Again, the pocket clip bolt, the top one there on this knife is structural. And then the pivot bolt, we're back to our T8. And then we'll tension this one. There is a little bit of Loctite on this from the factory, and I can still feel the tension from it. So we're good there on thread locker. I don't need to add any. Just getting rid of the blade play with the tension on that bolt. I think I took it a bit too far there. There we go, no blade play. Bearing is swinging freely. Flipper is working as well as it ever did. I think the flipper might actually be a little smoother now that I've disassembled it and oiled it, which is a good thing. This knife needed to be smoother. Flipper is still a bit small. Let's check the centering. Centering looks perfect. It went right back together like it should have when I disassembled and reassembled it. So there is your disassembly, reassembly of the Civivi Cetos.